We were going back and forth over this tweet, talking about what is the cheapest thing you've ever done. Me, we could be here all day because I'm not gonna say I'm cheap. I'll use a different word, maybe economical. Shug, is that a word you would use instead of cheap? Because cheap is kind of like a little insulting.
Frugal, thrifty, different things. Like the guy
I don't
who
mind cheap.
yeah, I mean,
I'm cheap. I
well,
don't care. I'll admit it.
well, the guy who the tweet came from, like his story, it was, what is the cheapest thing y'all done? But his story was that like he rented a car that was the same make and model as his car, took the tires off and switched the tires from his car to that car, returned the car with his old tires and kept like the new tires. So he got like 4 new tires for like whatever it costs to like rent a car for a day, and I think it was like $75. And
Yeah.
what do tires cost? Only like $200, like $100 or $200 like each.
125. But this is a while ago, and it's a different car. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't drive, so I have no idea. Yeah, what you guys is?
Cheap and like creative too, I should say. Because like when I never had money, let's say I'm with like a girl or whatever, like instead of sitting down to eat dinner, like I'll just buy like you know regular like bread, cold cuts, and just like have a date like that. Like that, I mean that's cheap. Like I mean I'm cheap and creative. I'm not just cheap and like you know like what you just described, Shug. That's cheap, but that's also kind of like thieving there. You know what I mean? Like at the
Yeah,
same time, like I'm not cheap to like thieve, to be like to steal or nothing, but yeah, I guess that's like the cheapest moments I've ever had was just like that, like just doing things of that nature, but being creative with it. Like I said, I never really had money like that, so it was like I'm cheap with my money, plain blank.
but like the replies to that tweet, like it had so many things. You were just like, wow, I never even thought about doing this. Like,
Well, I see one that didn't seem bad. I mean, I guess you take away someone else's like maybe job for that, but some guy also wrote that he ordered something on Uber Eats and he's an Uber driver, so he got the order and he just like got paid to
to pick up his own
honestly.
food.
Yeah, and because he was
That's
there, he's in front of the place.
that's
You
funny.
see, he's going somewhere else to drop it off. He just dropped it off at his own house. There you go. That's something I would do because I feel like it's not like malicious
See,
and it's not like
see, that's
taking
that's
away
Yeah, that's
from.
fine though. That's just cheating. That's just knowing how to work loopholes
yeah.
and work the system. You know what I mean? If there's loopholes and you could like maneuver, like cool, by all means. You're just using the loopholes right there.
Yeah, that's what like a lot of stuff was in like the replies when I was in college, because a lot of the most cheapest things you're gonna end up doing are like in college, because you don't have money, like as much money, and like you're on like meal plans and shit like that, so you have to be frugal. The cheap thing or the frugal thing that I did, or me and my friend did when we were in college. We had like one semester, um, we lived off campus and had a house where we used to have parties at. Me and him, there was like a bottle of Grey Goose that you could get, and it was like 3 feet tall, and it cost about like 55 to 60 bucks, right? So me and him like pooled our money together, bought it, and then um drank it over like a period, like over like a week or two, right? And we kept the bottle just for like the novelty of it, like, oh my god, like it's like, because it was like a huge fucking bottle of Grey Goose, like out of the ordinary, so we kept the bottle. So one day we were just chilling, like, shooting the shit, and the idea came up. We was like, yo, like it's so much, like you could literally get like a whole bottle of cheap ass vodka, like Vlad or Nikolai, like shit that make your stomach like turn inside out, for like, under $10. So we thought to ourselves, we were like, yo, like what if we got like 2 or 3 bottles of that shit and fill the bottle up, and then next party charge people for shots of Grey Goose, like $5 a shot or something. Like I think it was like either we sold it by the shots or we sold it by like the cup, and we filled it up. And we're at this party, we're like pouring what people think is Grey Goose, but it's like cheap ass, like bottom shelf, like shit you could clean your like floors with vodka. And we ended up making like we made back what we paid for the bottle, we made back what we paid for the cheap vodka, and then I think we made like maybe like $30 or $40 like on top of that.
And you had some vodka left over to clean the floors with, right?
Yeah.
Disinfectant.
Yeah.
That sounds like that's what that sounds like to me. Business.
It was awesome business.
Bars do that. Don't bars do that? Pretty sure bars probably do that too.
Yeah, bars do that.
Probably. Like how would you know the difference? I mean, like me, I'm an alcoholic, so I know I'd know if you like I asked for Jameson and you gave me like fucking like I don't even know what.
I think the soda they use, even the soda like from the like when they pour it, I think that's mostly water.
If I was behind the bar, I'd do the same thing. If I see like some schmuck coming in, but if I see a guy like kind of like the 1800 commercial with Michael Imperiale when he would come in with the suit, I would make sure I would get the real legit shit because that guy would probably be like, "No fucking way, this is not Patron," you know.
I don't know. Other shit you also could do. Like another thing you could get like a finesse on is like complaining. Like go on Twitter and like lambast like a company and they will be in your DMs ready to like give you like free shit. Like I remember one time I was in line at McDonald's and they were taking forever and it wasn't like it wasn't like mad car. I think it was like one car in front of us, but they took like 30-40 minutes, and then when we got to the front, got our order, they still got the shit wrong. So I just went on like Twitter and just like started like McDonald's, your location on blah 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 blah, did this, da, 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 and like they hit me up in my DMs, asked for my address, and I think I got like a free like value meal out of it.
Ronald McDonald popped up on your incoming calls. Yo, man, what's going on? What? It's like he's hushed, like he's like in like a group, and he's like, guys, so what's going on? I want to make this right. How can I make this right?
He just shows up in like a red and yellow like business suit.
Yeah.
Has his like hair like slicked back instead of like curly. That's how you know it's like serious Ronald McDonald.
Oh geez, the ponytail.
He has like the briefcase from like Pulp Fiction. And like it, you know, when you open up, it shines like a gold light in your face, but like inside of it is like French fries, like fresh, like fresh ass French fries.
The law officers of McDonald, Hamburglar, and Grimace.
Yeah, it's like, is that what I think it is?
So you gotta motivate yourself to be cheap. That's not a bad thing sometimes, being frugal. That takes a lot of effort.
Definitely does.
I love acting broke. That's like one of my favorite things to do sometimes, honestly, just acting broke. Even though I am. Like, I act broker than what I am. Or cheaper than what I am.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you like have to, like, honestly. Because, you know, shit sometimes should just be expensive for no fucking reason.
Yeah, I don't want to name names, but I know some techniques that I can tell you guys off camera.
Okay.
What to do in some certain situations, like a supermarket. I heard it. I didn't do it. I heard it.
I know a couple. I know a few who I worked for one, like, well, for two. I worked for two for like 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, like, to be honest with you, all of us like worked like behind the counter, and we've had people try to like finesse us. I mean, the other day I was telling Mike, you know, we had a customer because we had like a refill policy. So what people would do sometimes is like hold on to their cups for like ever, and just always like show up to get like their free refill. And yeah, like one dude, like he wasn't even like trying. Like he kept on bringing like the same like dirty ass cup like every time. And Yeah, and it was just like disgusting, and like he knew what he was doing because like he kept on like being like he kept on giving what do you call it, like gratuitous, like he kept on saying
Yeah.
thank you, like thank
Mm.
you so much, man, I appreciate it, da, da, da. Like it's like, motherfucker, I know exactly what you're doing, dude. Like if you don't take that dirty ass like slimy cup like out of my fucking face, like the shit like you're asking for a refill for doesn't even look like what was in the cup.
Like he held it up and it was like Grand Stampede or like SpongeBob, the like air horn, the it was like that. It was like a fly flying around.
A
Pretty sure it
matter,
was a different company too. It was
yeah,
some wrong store.
a matter of fact, like I remember one time like where we were at, like somebody had like a free drink coupon. So they walk in and like it must have been like July 9th, right? So they walk in like it's like a couple, and they asked to use the coupon, right? Or the discount, and like it expired on like June like 15th. So they show me the shit and like I'm like, nah, that's like expired. And they were like, so I can't use it? And I'm like, dude, it's like July 9th. That shit said it expired on like June 20th. Like, but there's some people like, like with certain workers, like if they don't want to deal with it, they'll just be like, fuck it, I'm gonna give it to them anyways. But me personally, like I was always there for that business.
We have different segments and topics in mind, and by the end, when I talk it out, I realize that like they're all linked in some way. Even though at first glance you wouldn't think so. Like today, we talked a lot about these tweets, and a lot of my responses have go back to a certain time, the error in my life, whatever. And I feel like maybe it was a coincidence, but I feel like all the stories I told were harking back to this one time back in the day. And I guess it's a good like this is a good way to reminisce and like think back and like, oh yeah, think about like the funny stuff and be grateful for where I'm at now. Yeah, I think they're all linked in that way. Like my funniest stories, like the drunkest stories, funniest stories, being younger with being more frugal. It kind of all intertwines, and I think it was fun for me to look back. And every once in a while, I'm going to share some old stories too, because we've all been there, and it's really funny. I was happy to hear. I have very similar stories to Suge and Joel, so it's always good to talk about that.
Yeah, and just piggybacking on what Mike said, like yeah, the I guess like the common link in this episode is just looking back on life and like experiences and stuff like that. And I was just thinking um yesterday, because I see a lot of people like I knew from like um even back when like going high school, sometimes even like college and stuff like that, and then like they'll go on like Twitter, and again, like I was just talking about with like this image you try to put out on social media. Like a lot of people, they try to like, oh, I'm like I'm a different person now. Like I don't drink anymore. I turn my life over to Christ, and I'm this and I'm that. And like I remember it was like there's this one girl in particular, like um she always like whenever she pops up on social media real randomly and like says all of these like high and mighty things like that. And I'm just like, bitch, like you fucking like averaged like a zero. Like you remember Animal House? Like you guys seen Animal House?
0.0.
Like yeah, like and then like Dean Warmer's office, and he's going through each of their like grades, each of their GPAs, and like I think it was like Flounder. He was like, you have like the lowest like average in like the school. Like it was this one girl, and like I'm like, yo, like all right, like you are high all the time, and like you basically like flunked out of like school. Like don't act all high and mighty here, and like you're but the point I'm trying to make is like a lot of these experiences, like even our story, like I actually like laugh about it when I think about that one story with me like throwing a beer at the dude. And like it wasn't until like maybe like a couple years ago, like I look back on it and I was like, man, like I regret that because like my father, like he always told he I don't like he's been like in and out, or we've had like an on and off relationship like over the years, like throughout my whole life. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I don't hold nothing against him. I still love him and stuff like that. But even though he wasn't there for me like plenty, like he always dropped little nuggets on me. So like three things in particular, like he always like taught me was the first thing was never be a follower, always be a leader. The second thing was never like fight over like a woman. And basically, like if a girl has to decide between you and somebody else and they're not like devoted to you and you feel like you got to compete with somebody else, like just let the other person have her. And then the third one was like not to like drink alone, but that's neither here nor there. But the second one, like I always think about, because I'm just like it was so out of character from me. Like, Joel, you know me like most of my life, like you never seen me like fighting over a chick.
Never, yeah, no.
Yeah, so it was like that whole situation was like very out of character for me. But like the point I want to make is like these experiences mold you into who you are, and you can't like look back on them and like um act like they didn't happen. Like at the end of the day, those experiences make you you, and it's what makes you unique and molds you into the person you are. And that's why, like, when we talk about like would we fight our 20-year-old selves, and it's like we've been seasoned since then. So it's just interesting, like the relationship you have with yourself, and just like when you could like be introspective and just look at yourself and look at how far you've come without without losing yourself. Because a lot of people just like they change and they just want to like act like those things never happened. And me, like, I acknowledge my past faults, and like I acknowledge like the things I regret, and I learned from them, and it made me different now. And it's probably gonna make me, it's probably gonna make me a better person going forward.